Hi, Algebra 1, Period 2. It's me, Miss Dewey Hoffman, and I'm ready to teach you about Chapter 1, Lesson 1. But before we do, a quick quote from Lemony Snicket, his book called Horseradish, on page 35. A long time ago, there was no such thing as school, and children spent their day learning a trade, a phrase which here means standing around doing tedious tasks under the instruction of a bossy adult. In time, however, people realized that children could be allowed to sit, and the first school was invented. Alright, so let's talk about math. Variables. Variables, a symbol, usually a letter that represents one or more numbers. So I can say the letter A is going to represent 2, right? So wherever I see the letter 2, like 3 plus A, and I've told you that A and this A here are the same A, you can then replace this letter A with the number 2. So that basically leads you to 3 plus 2, which, as most people realize, equals 5. Alright? So we can use all sorts of letters. You can use letter A, B, C, D, E, F. You get the idea. Alright, so let's talk about an algebraic expression. An algebraic expression can have numbers in it, variables in it, and operations in it. And numbers are obviously like the number 2, a variable, the letter T, and an operation could be addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Alright, so that's an expression. Now expressions do not have equal signs. No equal signs, okay? Don't make me say it again. Equations, or excuse me, expressions, no equal sign. So don't go there with the expressions, all right? An equation, on the other hand, does have an equal sign. So we can have an equation, and an equation can have numbers, variables, and operations in them as well, but they do have to have an equal sign, and that's what differentiates an equation from an expression. So here's an example of an equation. Alright, 2 plus 5 equals 7. And this is what we call a true equation because everything on this side of the equal sign has the same value once you do all the operations as this side of the equal sign. 2 plus 5 is 7, well 7 equals 7. This is what we call a true equation. Things that are like a false equation are kind of easy to spot. If I go 3 plus 4 equals 8, hopefully you guys realize that that doesn't look right. 3 plus 4 is 7, and 7 does not equal 8. So this is what we call a false equation. Alright? Now we have another type of equation, which is basically anything that has a variable in it, and that's what we call an open sentence. So if I have 3 plus A equals 5, the variable is what makes it an open sentence. Okay, so anything with a variable can be called an open sentence, but you won't hear us talk about it much anymore, these open sentence things, so don't worry about them too much. Alrighty, so just as a quick review, I do want to talk about solving for one-step equations. So let's go back, or let's look at a very simple equation. Let's look at 7 plus the letter M is equal to 10. Well, most of you can probably look at, well, what do I need to add to 7 to get to 10? 3, Miss DH, right? Duh. But I just want to remind you that when you do the opposite operation to something, you have to do it to both sides of the equation to help you figure out what M is for less obvious problems. So if I'm adding 7 to M here, I can subtract 7, but what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. 7 minus 7 is 0, leaving M by itself on this side of the equal sign, and 10 minus 7 is 3. Well, there we go. Mathematically, we just proved that M has to be 3. Okay. Alright, guess what? I believe there is 2 more pages left, so let's go ahead and work on them. Alright, just some quick vocabulary. When you see the word is, or you read the word is, usually in a problem, word problems, something that they want you to change into an equation or expression, the word is means an equal sign. So if I were to read you 3 plus 5 is 8, when I said the word is, it meant there's an equal sign right there. Okay? Pretty easy, so remember is an equal sign. Alright, the word than means to switch the location. So if I say 5 less than x is 8, how I would look at this is first, that less means to subtract. And as we just covered a second ago, is means an equal sign, right? But the word than means to switch the location of what's going on either side of the word than and switch the location. So instead of x coming second when we actually write the equation, and we know it's an equation because it has an equal sign, the x is going to come first. So since we're subtracting, we're then going to do x minus 5 is, or equals, 8. So that's how you translate this written phrase, right here, this written phrase, into an equation. Alright, so the word than means to switch things, so you got to pay attention to that. Next up is quantity. Let's say I told you that we have the quantity, I'm going to spell this out for you real quick, quantity 5 plus 3 and then multiplied by x. Quantity means that the things that come right after quantity, in this case 5 plus 3, is what's going to go into a grouping symbol, and grouping symbols again are parentheses. So if I were to write this expression out, I'm going to get 5 plus 3, and then I'm going to multiply by x. And I can put the x on this side of the equal sign or this side of the equal sign. Because just a reminder, when you have a number or a letter right next to parentheses, that implies multiplication. Okay? So just remember that. Quantity means parentheses or some other form of grouping symbol, but not necessarily a fraction bar, because fraction bars can be grouping symbols as well. So if I have a problem that kind of looks like this, this fraction bar right there, that fraction bar right there, implies division. Alright, division. Let's be really bold about this division. It's division. But because there's stuff going on top, and maybe there's something going on down at the bottom, in this case there isn't, but if there's something going on top, you need to make sure you simplify the top before you start doing the division. So 5 plus 3 is 8. The 2 is still down there because that's simplified, but now that I have one number on top and one number on the bottom, I can go ahead and do the division. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So that's your fraction bar grouping symbol. Alright, next up is words that mean addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So words that mean addition would be sum, increased by, more than, and total. Alright, words that go with subtraction are difference, fewer than, oops, let me spell that correctly, fewer than, less than, make sure you guys pay attention to that word than, and then decreased by. And then for multiplication, I'll go ahead and do it in purple. Multiplication, you have product and times. You also obviously have multiplied by, and then sometimes it can imply multiplication if you have parentheses next to something. And then for division, I'll go ahead and do it. I'll blind you guys and put it in yellow. Alright, so division is going to be divide by, and quotient. So let me show you, obviously most people are familiar with addition. That can look like a plus sign. Subtraction, obviously a minus sign. For product and for multiplication, you can we're either going to use the dot version, the dot, which looks like that, so I can have 2 times n, or we can write it with things right next to each other where it's 2n. 2n implies multiplication. Okay? And then for division, you have the normal division that you guys have been doing since, 3rd grade, or you can have a fraction bar. So this would be f divided by d. So make sure you pay attention to those things. Alright, that concludes the first video of Miss DH's class. Be ready for tomorrow. I've got about 19 problems set up for you. Alright, have a good night, guys. Bye.